What's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming by my channel today. If you recently purchased a Sony ZV-1, you're going to be looking for accessories to use with the camera, and today we're going to break down 5 accessories that I think are must-haves, and we are going to go into my review and a couple of my suggestions as to why I think you should get them, and my thoughts on how they actually perform with the camera. If you're kind of curious to just jump around, I'll add chapter markers below in the description so you can kind of hop to the accessories that you might find more applicable to your needs and what you actually need. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. I don't know why I did these fingers, but... So first and foremost, when I buy any camera, I always want to protect the screens on it. That's like the biggest thing to me because you can't really replace those once you kind of damage it. So one of the things that I actually looked into was this tempered glass. It's a little sheet that goes over your screen and it's really easy to apply and put on. I find it super helpful. I've actually put them on all the cameras I've ever bought, including my Sony A7S, and they just are super cheap, really helpful. I don't know why you wouldn't want to put it on there, but maybe you're a crazy risk taker and for some reason you just don't want to cover your screens. But I recommend that you definitely do it, even though the Sony ZV-1 actually has the nice feature for the screen where you can actually flip it and have the screen face inwards and protect it when you store it. That's great and all, it's just sometimes you never know, maybe you forget, you're flipping around the screen, or I don't know. Accidents happen, so better safe than sorry, right? Just put it on. The next thing that I'm going to recommend is the small rig body case. This thing is actually really helpful in a number of ways, including starting off with the grip here. It actually extends the length of the grip on the camera, which is kind of small when you're holding it. So when you have this body to actually add on, it's just a nice rubbery grip here. And it's got these 2 pads that just help with a little bit extra with that grip when you're holding it with your hand, especially if you're filming yourself. It just gives you a little bit more stability. It's really easy to install. It's just this one screw right here. They give you an Allen wrench, you just tighten it and it tightens around the camera body right here and does a really nice job of staying in place. The other benefit is that you get these other kind of like shoe holes here to plug in other accessories from microphones. The other biggest feature that I kind of got it for is kind of simple and really not that important, but when you're plugging this into a tripod or any, selfie stick or whatnot, when you're trying to replace your battery, you can't actually replace it without taking off the tripod. So with this body, it actually allows you to put in the tripod here and then you can still flip in your battery lid right here. And so it's just a nice functionality that saves you a little bit of time. I know it's not the biggest deal, but when you're kind of setting up your rigs and recording, you don't want to take off the whole thing, just take out a battery. Well, this allows you to clip it out, take out the battery, swap it back in. It offers a little bit of protection just around the front of the body, but I still don't think that if you dropped it, it would be helpful enough to protect it. But just something nice to have. I just think it's a good accessory. It wasn't too expensive. So the next accessory that you're going to be looking at is whether to get that little handy Sony ZV-1 selfie vlog stick that you can actually purchase from Sony. I initially thought about getting it, but I will say that's just not worth it. I didn't find myself using it in many situations and where I just rather hit the record button on the stick versus on top of the camera. That wasn't that big of a deal for me. What I needed more was to actually have the camera go a little bit further away. And the problem with that stand is that it doesn't extend. It's helpful, it's nice, and I like the functionality of the Bluetooth and how you can connect it right away with the camera every time when you turn it on. But with this type of camera and how zoomed in it is, you kind of need the functionality of a selfie stick. So that's where it comes in, this JOBY kind of selfie stick that's really awesome. It extends really nicely out. Pretty good distance, I would say, actually. And what I needed more about that too was the fact that it also works as a tripod stand. So that's just 2 things that I really liked about it. I like that it operated as a stand, and the Pro one actually allows it to come all the way out, so it gives it more stability when you're actually out and about filming and you want to make sure it doesn't fall over. But I really liked how it's basically like a tripod plus it's a selfie stick. Way more functionality, in my opinion, than the actual Sony ZV-1 little handy self-vlog stick that you could purchase, which I think goes for like 150 bucks, but this thing was like 60 bucks maybe. So I just think this is a much better value and functionality. I've used it in a bunch of different areas already. If you're curious of how I've used this gear a little bit, I made a vlog last week, and I'll drop a link in the description if you're kind of curious to see the footage and how I've used some of these accessories in the actual real world. The other next biggest item that I'm gonna say is a must-have is this Ulanzi wide angle lens. I actually saw a bunch of reviews on it from other YouTubers, and I thought it did a great job. What's kind of cool is that this thing can also operate as a macro lens since it unscrews, and when you take off the front wide angle lens, you get the macro lens here at the end of it, and you can actually zoom in on like really tiny shots. I don't know what things you'd want to film, but it's pretty cool to mess around with if you just want to zoom in on things and test around, and could be helpful to you, and maybe you can find some pretty cool shots to use that with to help out with your videos. But overall, I am a big fan of this wide angle lens so far, and I'll just show you the difference of here me putting it on, and I don't even have to screw it in, so you can kind of see how the difference of the space is. So if you kind of come out here, it's like you can kind of see the window here, and then me taking it off, it's how much more zoomed in it is now. I don't know if it really matters to you, but for me, when you're kind of vlogging, you want to see a little bit of the extra background behind you. And sometimes when you're holding this camera, it's just really punched in, and it's going to be a little bit tougher to capture some of the other shots around you. And for vlogging, you always want the wider angle lenses, and so that's the only downside about this camera, is that I think it goes as wide as 28. But the solution right here with this Ulanzi wide angle kind of fixes the whole problem with that. So really helpful, really great item, definitely recommend it. Really easy to install as well. Feels sturdy, and it's nice. It does add a little bit of weight to the camera, but for the sake of the wide angle lens, I really think it's worth it. So just my opinion, up to you if you really want to get it or not, but I think if you got this camera, it's kind of those items that you just kind of have to get, because the lens just isn't wide enough in a lot of scenarios, and unless you hold your hand straight out or you get the selfie stick, and you know, it's just helpful for so many different situations, and it looks great still. It does a little bit of warpiness on the sides, a little bit, but I still think it's a good choice. It's a good buy for sure. The next item on my must-have accessory list is the Deity D4 Duo Mic. This thing is really good. It offers audio not only from the front, but also the back, so that when you're vlogging and you're like talking to other folks, one of the annoying things is that when you're aiming the mic or you're talking to someone, it only picks up the direction of the audio that the mic is facing. What's really cool about this microphone is that it hears both front and back, and you can switch it on and off to which side you want to be on, or if you want both to be on. But that's just a really amazing feature that I think has been an issue for many vloggers for the longest time. And while I already love the audio on the camera, I just think that if you're interested in stepping up the audio quality, the Deity D4 Duo is just a great additional add-on. It sounds great. I think it's a really tiny, discreet microphone. It's not too huge, and they give you these wind noise covers actually that are even really helpful when you're outside filming, and if it's windy, helps muffle the sound. And overall, just a solid microphone that I definitely recommend. I have never had anyone that could record the front and the back like that. I, however, for most of the time recording, probably won't bring out the microphone. I really want to keep it a very simple, minimalistic kind of setup. I don't want to have too much going on, but maybe with such a tiny little microphone on the top of like this, it's really not that cumbersome to bring around, just because the size is so small and compact that it actually might not be that hard to just bring around. So I will probably mess around with that and see how it works in different environments and which ones I might want to use it in. But definitely recommend, good price, good size, great functionality, and definitely just recommend that. So the last accessory you're definitely going to need is to get more batteries. The Sony ZV-1 comes with one battery, however, it just doesn't last long enough when you're out and about shooting. You're definitely going to need additional ones. So I purchased this other brand. This Numoa company sells 3 of these batteries, and they give you this platform charger, which is pretty cool. Has a USB-C or the micro USB plugs to plug into, and really helpful. Just nice to have. Good price and affordable still, so definitely a recommend for that. And as a bonus accessory that I'm going to throw in at the end, because one of the things that we always need to do is bring the camera around and actually find something that it can fit into. And I actually found this Amazon Basics camera bag to be super helpful, and it was only like $6 or something. And what's great is that I can put the camera right here, and then maybe the wide angle lens and the batteries I can throw into the secondary pouch. But perfect little size, super cheap. I mean, it's only $6, so you might as well get one. And just super portable and functional and a good build. And if you do want to like hook it onto your backpack or your belt, it has this extra strap in the back where you can kind of put something through it. So anyways, I guess that wraps up the video for today. If there's other accessories that you're interested in and you would recommend or suggest, drop that in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it and maybe see what other accessories that I haven't heard about or could use with this camera as well. But I think that really kind of wraps up for today's video. And if there's other things that you're curious about or have questions of in terms of the accessories that I mentioned today, drop me a comment as well, and I will do my best to get back to each and every one of you. And for now, I guess I will see you guys in next week's video. Peace!